As we present here today is without question the biggest race the G drivers will compete in during the entire course of the year. And who better to talk about the ARCA sanctioning body itself than a former champion of the division? Here's Benny Parsons with Ned Jarrett.
Bob, there's no doubt that the two ARCA championships I won was the reason I was able to get that NASCAR Winston Cup ride in 1970. I was able to move south and become part of the Winston Cup Tour only because I had success in ARCA. And then I think the same thing holds true today.
It is a great proving ground, no question about it. Good place to get experience running on a super speedway against veterans. Of course, we have a lot of rookies in the field, too, which sometimes makes it exciting. But it is a good avenue for drivers to learn, get experience at a relatively low cost. And, of course, this series has grown tremendously over the years. I remember not too many years ago when they had trouble getting a full field of cars. There were 60 drivers trying to get in this 40-car field today. For more on it, let's go to the pits and Dr. Jerry Punch.
You're right, Ned. This is the 40th anniversary for the Toledo, Ohio-based Automobile Racing Club of America. And you said 60 cars were here? That's right. 60 different cars representing 17 states and Canada came here trying to qualify for 42 starting spots. It's been an entry-level series, but at least one driver chose this series to exit this racetrack today, and that is the veteran 60-year-old Red Farmer from Hueytown, Alabama. Red, over 700 career wins, says today will be his last super speedway start. But he leaves a legacy behind. Young drivers he's helped, including last year's Daytona 500 winner, Davey Allison. But there's another driver in today's field he's helped as well. For more on that, here's John Kernan.
Jerry, remember last year, Loy Allen Jr., his first trip ever to the Daytona International Speedway, stole the spotlight by winning the pole for the ARCA 200. He called that his freshman year at Drafting University. This year, he plans to study under one of the masters, as you mentioned, Professor Red Farmer. Look for those two guys to hook up today and chase down the man that they have been calling the Rocket this week in the ARCA garage, Jeff Purvis. He out-qualified Allen by 2 miles an hour. Now, he hopes to use this series in a good run today to graduate, move to graduate school, if you will. He has a Winston Cup car here, also a Busch Grand National car, so we can look for a lot of things to come in the future for Jeff Purvis.
And the excitement begins to build as a great crowd is on hand here at Daytona, set to watch the beginning of stock car racing on ESPN for 1993, the ARCA 200. Starting lineup for you. On the pole, qualifying at 187.6 miles an hour, Jeff Purvis from Clarksville, Tennessee, in the Phoenix Construction Chevy, outside Loy Allen Jr. in the Hooters Ford. Going to row number 2. On the inside, it's Bob Shack from Lombard, Illinois, flanked by Tim FEDEWA from Holt, Michigan. Row number 3 has Peter Gibbons, a Canadian, alongside Gary Bradbury from Chelsea, Alabama. Row number 4, veteran Red Farmer from Hueytown, Alabama, and Coopersville, Michigan's Tim Steele. Row number 5, it's Mike Wallace from St. Louis, Missouri, and from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, Bobby Gerhart. The 6th row, Concord, North Carolina's Kerry Teague and Bob Brevac from Ashland, Wisconsin. The 7th row, Nashville, Tennessee's Jeremy Mayfield and Bob Keselowski, former champion of this division. In the 8th row, it's Jimmy Horton from Hamilton, New Jersey, and Bobby Boucher, the defending ARCA champion. 9th row, Mark Thompson from Georgia and Tim Sauter from Necedah, Wisconsin. The 10th row, Frank Kimmel, the Rookie of the Year last year from Jeffersonville, Indiana, and Ken Allen from Shelby, North Carolina. And as you look at the remainder of the starting lineup, the cars down the backstretch, and in a half a lap, we'll get set to go and have 80 laps of competition.
I'm all excited for this. It's great to be at Speed Weeks, be in Florida in February. It's where we ought to be if you're interested in racing.
This is the place to be.
This is definitely the place to be.
We have drivers from 16 states and 1 province in Canada represented here this afternoon. 16 Chevys are in the field, 9 Fords, 10 Oldsmobiles, 3 Pontiacs, 2 Buicks, and 2 Chryslers, as you see the entire starting lineup for this event. There's the in-car camera that will be carried by Jim Sauter.
Pedigree Dog Foods in-car camera.
Good sponsor on that car.
And Jim Sauter also has a Winston Cup car. He'll be doing double duty, the ARCA race and the Winston Cup race, the Daytona 500 by STP next Sunday.
Pace car pulls off the racetrack, and here we go. Here comes the pole sitter, Jeff Purvis, leading them down. The green flag waves, and we are underway with the ARCA 200.
With the restrictor plates, Bob, it takes them a while to get up their speed. When they start off of turn 2, we might expect to see some of them start fanning out, maybe even see some 3 abreast racing down the backstretch.
Meanwhile, the front row is just exactly like they lined up at 30 miles an hour.
Beginning to build up the momentum, but you're right, Benny. The first two cars are right where they were when the green flag dropped. They stay side by side as they head for the 31 degrees of banking between turns number 3 and 4. It is Jeff Purvis on the inside, and there's the in-car camera carried by Jim Sauter, and you can see how close the cars are as they come off the fourth corner and complete lap number 1 with Purvis about 4 or 5 inches ahead of Loy Allen.
And I tell you what, you can see just how these cars wiggle around at 190 miles an hour. And yes, folks, they're running 190 miles an hour as they go through the corner, side by side, just inches apart.
There's a bit of a breeze blowing here this afternoon from the first turn down the backstretch. They will have a tailwind as they go down the backstretch, and they will be coming right into the wind as they come through the tri-oval. Still no movement up front. They are still side by side.
Looks like these cars are dead even.
You'll see one of them get just a little bit out in front, and then he runs into that wall of air up there that has been opened up. Then the other one might go out a little bit, so they just can't either of them get an advantage on the other. But the big spoilers that they're running on these cars this year is allowing them to run that way and the car be pretty stable.
We have only had one minor spin during the entire speed weeks here as far as stock car racing is concerned. That was in ARCA qualifying. So indeed the cars are very stable this year with that enlarged spoiler. Still up front, it is Jeff Purvis on the inside. He was the pole sitter. Loy Allen Jr. on the outside. John Kernan has a comment on Loy Allen Jr.
Bob, this morning at the drivers' meeting talking with Loy, he was a little bit concerned. He thought Jeff Purvis may rocket out in front of everybody and take off. But the one thing that may work in his favor, he's starting on that outside line, so he's having a higher groove.
Big crash in turn number 3. One car loose, and it's going to take out many, many cars.
When you have something happen up front and they're still coming in there, when one car up front gets in trouble, then everybody else barreling in there at full speed, they simply can't slow the cars down quick enough to avoid it.
I believe it was the 55 car of Tim FEDEWA
that lost control. And, man, I'm telling you what, how many cars was in that crash, Ned?
I don't know, about 2/3 of the field. It looks like
that way, yes, because Tim FEDEWA started 4th.
Yeah, and he was running there or 5th or so when the incident occurred, so everybody behind him had virtually nowhere to go. A couple of cars coming down pit road as the yellow flag is waving. But there you can see some of the carnage. One car is on fire. That's Peter Gibbons.
Yes, it is, the Canadian.
Extinguishing the fire that broke out in the front of that car. Well, let's take a look at it.
Here we see, it looks like Shaq just barely touched Tim FEDEWA. Now Shaq goes up, makes contact with cars on the outside. That was Bob Shackton, the blue car, the Pronto Auto Parts car. Looked like he just barely made contact with FEDEWA's car, and the racetrack, there's no place for the guys to go.
And it doesn't take much at the speeds they're running, just as you say, a slight tap, and spent.
That's Gary Bradbury, I think, on the outside. Is that 78? Yes, Gary Brad in the red car.
Jimmy Horton comes in 32.
There's a hood or something flying through the air like a kite.
A lot of good race cars torn up.
There goes Bobby Bowser, the champion, down on the inside.
And here's the chain reaction that happened behind the original spin.
And nowhere to go. I looked at the racetrack is completely blocked. There's nowhere for anyone to go. At 30 miles an hour, you couldn't drive through there. Well, there's Bob Shack's car.
Yep.
The blue car.
I believe that could be Horton behind him in the 32, maybe.
Some heavy damage to Horton's car. There's Red Farmer.
He was in it. He got clipped. He came on down, came around, came down pit road.
John Kernan is down in the pit area with the crew chief.
With Doug Taylor, the crew chief for Tim FEDEWA. And Doug, one of those unfortunate incidents leaving you guys very disappointed. Tim has radioed in and told you he's okay, but can he get the car back around?
No, I don't believe so, John. The car's pretty bad. You know, it's just a shame in this race. It's a longer race, and you know, the car was running really good today. It's just really a shame. This crew's really worked hard. Mark Dew built us a heck of a motor. We felt like we had a good shot at winning it, you know, and Timmy was sure doing a good job. And one of the guys got up into him down there, and it turned us around. And, well, as you can see, what the damage has done to about half the field. So it's just a shame.
Well, they'll try and pack it up. They'll survey the damage somewhat, then pack it up. But they will be back here next week to run in the Goodies 300. FEDEWA running the entire schedule this year on the Busch National Circuit.
So the race has been red flagged. The cars have stopped here in the tri-oval as they clean up the damage. Jerry Punch is with Bobby Gerhart.
And Bobby climbs out of the car. First of all, Bobby, your Chevrolet heavily damaged behind us. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I really didn't hit anything that hard. It just awful scary there for a minute. They started spinning, hitting one another. You just couldn't see anything.
Did you see what happened in front of you? You were about 9th or 10th on that lap.
It looked like Bobby Shack and FEDEWA got together. I'm not sure who did what, but just cars went everywhere, and there's just nowhere to go.
A tough break for Bobby Gerhart. His Chevrolet behind us heavily damaged. He is out of it here in the ARCA 200.
And for several other drivers, we do have just about half the field that was involved in this crash. We count about 20 cars that had made it back to the tri-oval here, and will take the green flag when the race resumes. Here it is once again.
Bob Shack is a blue car. He goes up, touches a red car. That's Tim FEDEWA. They both lose control, and now the racetrack suddenly becomes totally, completely blocked. These cars running what, Ned, 100 miles an hour?
Well, more than that, I would say, Benny, as they come in there. And as you say, nowhere to go. And the brakes simply won't stop those cars that quick. They were too close on.
There's Bob Keselowski. He was a former champion in ARCA.
Finished second in points last year. He sits in his car waiting for the restart, but it is heavily damaged, and I think there's some question as to whether he will be able to restart. Well, we're off to a rather bad start here as the red flag is out because of a multi-car crash in turn 3. International Speedway for you on ESPN Speed World. A lot of repairs going on down in the garage area behind the wall as we've had a multi-car crash on the 3rd lap of this event in turn number 3. Here's how it happened.
Once again, the blue car, Bob Shack goes up, makes contact with Tim FEDEWA. That's the red car, and the racetrack just gets blocked, Ned.
Everybody coming in there at full speed had nowhere to go. They locked the brakes down, tried to slow them down, but again, it's hard to do at those speeds, so they just many cars involved.
This is from Jim Sauter's in-car camera.
And you can see everything is fine. He's going in the 3rd corner, and we can see the smoke up at the top out of his windshield. And all of a sudden, cars start going sideways. That's Mike Wallace and Duron Pontiac. Ooh, and he makes contact and goes down, and it looks like he might have hit Mike Wallace.
And there you can see the work that's going on in Jim Sauter's car.
That's Mike Wallace's car.
Yeah, and trying to get it back into the race. Well, these are the cars that were involved in the incident and right now are either officially out of the race or behind the wall and will not be taking the green flag here in just a moment. So about half the field eliminated or seriously damaged in that crash. No report, however, of driver injuries at this point.
Bob, you see this flag blowing? You mentioned earlier that there's a tailwind going into turn 3. They're going into that turn at least 10 miles an hour faster than they would if that wind was not blowing that strong. You wonder if that might have had anything to do with causing that wreck.
Jerry Punch has a comment on Mike Wallace.
Guys, they have been working on the cars you saw moments ago down here behind the wall. Larry Penn and some of the crew for Rusty Wallace's car, Winston Cup car, are here working as well, but the news just came a moment ago. Too much severe damage to the chassis beneath the rear of this Pontiac. Mike Wallace is out of it today. What a tough break for a young man who qualified in the top 10 and looked to have a good option and possibly a win today. Getting set for the green flag. Bob?
22 cars take the green flag and resume racing, so we lost 20 in the crash, and the green flag comes out of the completion of lap number 7 as we begin lap number 8. And that is still Loy Allen Jr., the leader of the event, with Jeff Purvis right behind, and now Bobby Boucher up to 3rd.
Bobby Boucher started 16th, and he went through the grass to miss that crash. So he was able to get through unscathed and looking pretty good right now.
Finished second this race last year. Jimmy Horton, who was in the crash, so he won't win it again this year.
Here's a challenge for the lead. There goes Jeff Purvis on the inside of Loy Allen, takes that spot away. Bowser's going to try to follow him through. And he makes it through.
Bowser takes 2nd position as Loy Allen Jr. drops all the way back to 4th position. Coming into 3rd place is the number 95 car. That is Jeremy Mayfield. And John Kernan has a report.
Well, Bob, you see how Bobby Bowser has moved up. I went down and talked to Gary, Bowser's crew chief. He says that the spotter says he has no idea how he made it through all that mess, but it had to have been superior driving ability with your eyes closed. And this car that he's got out there right now is the same car that he finished second in this race the last 2 years.
That's just about all you can do, and then close your eyes and hope that you get through it.
What else can you do?
Mayfield now challenging Bobby Boucher for that second position as Loy Allen hangs by there in third. Meanwhile, Jeff Purvis has stretched out the lead.
He has, and somewhat surprising, although he did qualify a couple of miles an hour faster than did Allen, but he's pulling away just without the help of any draft.
The pole speed here this year was 4.4 miles an hour slower than last year, mainly because of the larger spoiler that the cars are required to use this year.
That Jeremy Mayfield in 95. You know, Ned, it's amazing how those guys from Nashville stick together. He's been up around Nashville, Tennessee. I was down in December. He was here testing that car, and Bobby Hamilton came with him to try to get the car, the chassis set on the car, because this is Mayfield's first race in Daytona.
And Darrell Waltrip has helped Bobby Hamilton, so it just goes on back, all those guys from that area.
Those guys from Nashville really stick together. There's a card on the inside. That looks like Ron Burchett.
And he's coming to the pits. Meanwhile, it is still a good battle for second and third positions. Boucher, Mayfield, and Loy Allen Jr.
John Kernan talking about that one car being a rocket ship. He's shown to be so far. There's Frank Kimmel and Kurt Schummerdine.
That name should be familiar to your racing fans. He was the crew chief on Dale Earnhardt's car last year, retired from mechanic work last year, and is a race driver this year. Had a little trouble getting into the field, but he did. And now Shelmerdine takes the position away from Kimmel.
Right up on the outside and went around. Looked like a Dale Earnhardt type of a move.
He did. Well, he certainly has worked with one of the best drivers in the world, that's for sure. That's a race for fifth. Now Shelmerdine is fifth, and Kimmel is sixth.
Kimmel, of course, the Rookie of the Year last year in ARCA competition. And there up front are the leaders. There is Purvis, who has really stretched it out.
The car stalled up in, I don't know if he's hit the wall or just up in turn 4.
Car indeed against the wall in turn 4. We do not see a caution at the moment. They're hopeful that the car can come down off the banking and get to pit road without creating any problems.
And he did.
It's the 89 car of
Jeff McClure.
There he is.
And he's made some heavy contact with the outside retaining wall. And still no caution flag, but we can see the right side of that car is just flat.
And he is well within pit road now, so no problem. There it is. Oh, he made some pretty significant contact.
Now, he got through the wreck. He was one of those drivers that started far back in the field. In fact, he started 35th. Has had some engine problems. He had been getting his engine from the Bob Whitcomb team, NASCAR Winston Cup team. Of course, they've folded up now, and here's car number 39 being worked on. But anyway, Jeff McClure had a break in getting through the field, but maybe he might have cut a tire or something running over the debris and didn't realize it and had the tire go flat and got him into the wall.
That is Sauter that's getting to work there in the pit area.
That was the in-car camera shot you saw just a moment ago as you watched the crew working on the car.
Out he goes again. 12 laps completed here with Jeff Purvis well out in front of Bobby Boucher, Jeremy Mayfield, and Loy Allen Jr. in the ARCA 200. Tony in the ARCA 200. Jeff Purvis is the leader, followed by Mayfield, Allen, Boucher. There you see the second 10 as Joe Niemirowski has moved up into 10th position. Airship Shamu from nearby SeaWorld over in Orlando, providing the overhead shots for us today. One of the many attractions here in the Daytona and Orlando area. Let's go to John Kernan in the pit area with Jeff McClure.
Jeff, some heavy contact up there in the wall. You're okay, but what happened?
Evidently, there's still a little bit of debris on the track, or either I picked up something, you know, from that big wreck, and it just blowed the right front tire, and, you know, ain't much you can do.
Now, I thought for a minute there the luck was going to be on your side. You were starting 35th. You moved all the way up to 7th. You missed that big wreck. How'd you do that?
I don't know, man. To be honest, we just got lucky down there. There was so much smoke and all, I couldn't see. But, you know, we was doing the buddy deal with Andy Hillenberg in front of us. I looked at his tires, and he was looking at mine. And, you know, we thought we was all right, but evidently not.
Let me show you real quick what a blown tire looks like when you cut it down. Look at this. It even cut the inner liner.
He's lucky he wasn't injured in that incident. There is Bobby Bowsher, who is running in 4th position and miraculously made it through that big pileup. And this is how he did it.
When you would think, we kidded about closing his eyes, but you see, there's no way he can do what he did with his eyes shut. He has to be driving the car. You see, the racetrack is completely blocked. And here he comes. That's white car. He goes driving by now next to the grass on the apron, like he's going to the grocery store, and drove right through it.
You got to drive through there pretty fast because those cars are headed right down for you. And
exactly.
My golly, they missed him and he missed them. So Bowsher getting ready to restart with the others. And we will be back for the green flag and a resumption of this ARCA 200 from Daytona right after this. Stay with us. Next time around, they'll be getting the green flag. Let's go quickly to Jerry Punch.
Well, the leader is Jeff Purvis. And why would you see a Winston Cup car owner sitting here in the ARCA pits? And Larry McClure, what are you doing here?
Well, you know, that old car's visited Victory Lane here before a couple years ago, and we thought Jeff could take it back again. The whole crew, the Phoenix construction crew, and James Finch worked really hard. Gary Blue's done an excellent job preparing the car this week, and we thought it ought to have another chance. And, you know, Jeff's got all the talent and tools to be successful in this sport. So we thought we'd let him have a good day.
That's Larry McClure, the car owner for Ernie Irvan. This car that Jeff Purvis is driving won the 1991 Daytona 500 with Ernie Irvan aboard, and maybe 2 in a row.
Green flag is out, and I'll tell you what, in the early going of this race, it has proven its superiority. It is a fast race car. Look how quickly he jumps out into the lead as we have a change of 2nd position. Loy Allen Jr. has passed Jeremy Mayfield.
Bowser's back in 4th spot now.
Well, McClure was pulling away before the yellow came out, but to get that far just on less than a half a lap, he is fast.
Larry McClure talking about the race car. Well, who builds the engines? Maybe Larry McClure has loaned them one of his Winston Cup engines to go in that car.
It looks like it.
It does look like it, doesn't it?
They're 2nd and 3rd, Loy Allen Jr. and Jeremy Mayfield.
Mayfield's been pretty impressive so far.
Yeah, they've sort of separated themselves from 4th place Bobby Bowsher. Coming down will complete lap number 19. Jeff Purvis well out in front of the field. And Jerry, what do you know about this engine in the Purvis car?
Well, answering Benny's question, guys, it's exactly what Benny said. When they bought the car, they bought the entire package. It is a Runt Pittman engine in the car, so it's the entire car and engine that won the Daytona 500.
Whoa.
Whoa. That answers that question. Hey, guys behind, just give up.
Look at Purvis trying to break the draft, going really low on the backstretch. Of course, he had to pass that car, but still got down almost to the grass.
Look at Kirk Shelmerdine trying to go by Bobby Bowser on the outside.
Boy, Kirk's doing all right, isn't he?
He is doing okay.
That's a battle for 4th place. Kirk Shelmerdine up high and Bobby Bowsher down low. Shelmerdine has got the position.
Good move. He just takes that thing high and moves right on around. And it looks like, fellas, Loy Allen might be picking up a little bit on Jeff Purvis. He might have picked that draft up and might be gaining a little bit on it. He's certainly not losing.
John Kernan has comment on Kirk Shelmerdine.
Bob, I was talking to him this morning. I said, hey, how is it now that you're a big-time race car driver? He said, well, it'd be a lot more fun if I was running really fast. Well, now you bet he's having fun. He's up front. He says that he's only got plans right now for this race on ARCA, but it depends how well he does. If they can get a sponsor, get some more money, they might run some more races. And one other note, the guys over at Richard Childress' shop says that Kirk still comes by. They're still on very friendly terms, and those guys are watching him and maybe giving him a little advice. In fact, they said Earnhardt may be hooked up on a radio. He may have a few words of advice for Kirk during today's race.
Look coming here. He is called Jeremy Mayfield.
I'm telling you.
Started 37th. Now running 4th.
You know, I would have bet money that Kirk would have been back with a crew this year, a Winston Cup crew, by the time the season began. When he retired last year, I thought, well, he'll take a couple of months off, and by race time, when it rolls around, he'll be ready to go back as a crew chief somewhere. But by golly, he's a race driver. How about it, John?
I think that's what he wants to do right now. You know, talking with him today, he said he didn't have any plans at all to go to another team and be a crew chief. And some of the guys on Childress' crew told me that they think that, yeah, it was what he said when he turned in his notice, that he was just kind of burned out of being a crew chief. Now let's go down pit road to Dr. Jerry Punch.
You know, on Thursday's first day of qualifying, Kirk Shelmerdine had engine trouble in the car. Couldn't get the car over 160 miles an hour, and that wouldn't even make the field, much less run up front. There were a lot of teams in the Winston Cup garage hoping that Kirk would get possibly discouraged and say, I'll give it up and come back and be a crew chief. But not Kirk. He put another engine in the car, came out, he made the field, and now he's got to feel pretty glad he did, because he's probably having a pretty good time up front.
Boy, I'm sure he is. He's looking very, very strong. They're still working on Jim Sauter's pedigree car, still trying to trim that sheet metal back so that it will not rub against any of the tires and get Jim back out there. He's a former winner of this race.
He did win the race. And you wonder, folks, if you're wondering why they keep doing this, why they're working on the car, this is for the sponsor. They're trying to get some TV time. Exactly what they're doing. See that big pedigree sign? They're doing their job.
Jerry, you down there?
We are right here beside Jim Sauter, the 78 winner of the ARCA 200, and he's driving for the Rulo brothers, a team he finished second in this car with at Michigan last June. And exactly right, Benny Parsons. So few teams in ARCA competition have giant sponsors. This is an opportunity for Pedigree to get involved, a dog food company in ARCA racing, which really puts on a heck of a show.
Well, I'm sure they're wishing that that car would be running rather than healing right there, or sitting, shall we say. And patiently, Jim Sauter waits for the crew to get finished so he can go back out there on the racetrack.
Well, fellas, out on the racetrack, Jeff Purvis has begun to pull away now from Loy Allen, and the second and third place cars are beginning to catch Allen.
Exactly. Mayfield and Kirk Shelmerdine are gaining. Now, here comes some cars back in the back. That's Ken Allen, the black and red car. I can tell that car instantly.
David Simcoe in number 51.
That 3 car, Kenny Allen, was in that crash. As the car on our left side was in that crash as well. You can see the damage on the left side of it. That's Ron.
Bob Brewer's in 10, and Bob Keselowski is the black and white car on the outside. And there's a beautiful shot from the airship Shamu. Hovering overhead of Daytona International Speedway on ARCA Day 1993.
Here comes Kirk. He took over that third spot. I realize we're looking from Shamu, but just keep you abreast.
It's a pretty good battle for position there as Allen heads up the racetrack, trying to take away the position from David Simcoe.
And he does it. He's on the outside, takes a spot away.
Here's our field summary showing you where the cars were running last time they crossed the stripe. That does not, of course, reflect Kirk Shelmerdine now being in third position, because that happened just seconds ago.
Quick rundown.
And several of these cars were involved in the crash and have spent some time in the pit area or behind the wall getting fixed. And there you can see some of the cars that were eliminated in the big accident in the third turn on lap number 3. Jeff Purvis still leading the race. That was the 15 car of Craig Rubright.
Yes. There's Purvis. Finished construction Chevrolet Lumina. Boy, you can see what kind of lead he has on the second place car of Loy Allen. Wow. And look at this third place car right on the back of Loy Allen. Our hero, Kirk Shelmerdine.
Kirk Shelmerdine in third position as we've completed 26 laps out of 80 in this ARCA 200. We'll be right back with our same-day coverage of this event right after this. Kirk Shelmerdine running in fourth at this point is Jeremy Mayfield, and in fifth position is the 02 car of Frank Kimmel.
And the best thing these fellows can do is exactly what they are doing, and that's hook up in a draft. And I think Kirk Shelmerdine realizes that. If he pulls out and tries to pass Loy Allen, he's only going to slow both of them down, and there's nothing to gain by doing that. Just sit there and draft together and try to stay as close as they can to Purvis.
We might point out that Shelmerdine, we've talked about how he has been a chief mechanic for the last few years, but he's no stranger to racing. He won the NASCAR Sportsman race at Charlotte back in 1991 and finished second in Sportsman points last year, so he has some super speedway experience.
And I think that's one reason that he decided to try his hand at driving, because he did have some success in that sportsman car, and he's not getting any younger. He must be in his early 30s, and he said, look, I've either got to do it now or never do it. So,
yeah, he's 34 years old. His 35th birthday coming up March the 8th.
I'm impressed with the job that Kirk is doing.
Yeah, me too.
They won their 4th place car. There's Frank Kimmel and Bobby Bowser racing for that 5th spot. Bowser now currently has it, and Frank Kimmel trying to take it away. The 02 car, the black car, is Kimmel. So his dad, Bill Kimmel, down in the garage area this morning. I used to race with Bill. And Iggy Katona, our Grand Marshal for the ARCA 200 today.
And I'm sure you drove with Bobby Bowser's father, too.
Jack Bowser, that's true.
A lot of second-generation drivers here this weekend. There is Jeff Purvis now beginning to weave his way through some of the slower traffic, passing the number 39 car. That's Jim Sauter.
So Sauter hasn't been able to repair his car. He's back on the racetrack.
Really running pretty good with all the damage he has to the car.
That's Rick Shepard in that 77. That's a Chrysler, I believe. And Purvis goes by him on the outside, and now he tries to look on the inside of Sauter. That was fairly easy.
Passed him right here at the start-finish line. And pedigree in-car camera showing Jeff just motoring away.
Riding off into the sunset. Now he pulls back up on the outside of the car. You can tell the car's handling it because he passed on the outside, inside, and back on the outside.
Looks like he can take it anywhere he wants to on the racetrack. He was running, before he caught this group of traffic that he went through, and it only took him about a lap and a half to get through them, but he was running at about 48 seconds flat. And around the racetrack, the 2nd and 3rd place cars drafting together were running about 48 and a half seconds, so he was gaining about half a second a lap on.
That's about what he qualified, wasn't it? About 48 flat? I would guess that that's about what he qualified. So
somewhere in that area.
And there, you can see the 2nd place car running across that same traffic, the battle for 2nd place.
That remains the best battle on the racetrack, as Loy Allen Jr. and Kirk Shelmerdine are nose to tail, separated by about a car length or two. Here's the serial on Kirk Shelmerdine. Started in 37th position by lap 5. He was up to 10th, 5th at the end of 15th laps, 4th at the end of 20 laps, and at the end of the 32nd circuit, he was up to 3rd.
Now, folks, he didn't cheat and pass all those cars. There was a huge crash. If you just turned on your TV, there was a huge crash on the 3rd lap. That's how he got by a lot of those cars, 20 of them, as a matter of fact.
There's the interval between 1st and 2nd and 3rd. Purvis just dominating here. Last lap average speed 188.3.
2-3 miles per hour.
That's faster than they qualified.
Yeah, he qualified 187.645, getting the benefit of some draft out there.
Well, we see the hood on that Jim Sauter car kind of flapping in the breeze as he pulls up behind one of the...
It's Jody Morosky in 87. Now, see when he pulled up behind that car and got in the draft, how the thing quit, the hood quit waving around? Now, as he gets back and the wind starts hitting, see how he goes up and down and starts flapping? If he can get behind cars, see how calm. That's what we're talking about calm, smooth air when you're drafting.
Riding with Jim Sauter, who first drove in ARCA at Daytona here in 1976 in a Dave Marcus Dodge. Finished 22nd in that outing. He ran 2nd to Woody Fisher in 1977, then won here in 78 after a thrilling last lap duel with Bruce Hill. And look at Shelmerdine. He's taken 2nd.
He's gone beyond side of Loyal, took that 2nd spot away.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Ned, maybe he is a race car driver.
I'll tell you, he's showing some good signs here.
I thought he'd bought a helmet and put on a uniform and called himself a race car driver, but he just might be a race car driver.
He's proven himself.
That is great, Kirk. He's doing a heck of a job.
And just pulled away once he moved around.
Now he's going to run that Earnhardt groove down next to the white line.
I'm sure he's learned a few things from Mr. Earnhardt during the few years that they were together.
You know, you really can't see that much. You can't see that much when you're a crew in the pit area, but I'm sure he has went home and watched tapes and then talked to Earnhardt about why he did this, why he did that in trying to set up the race car. So, yes, had many, many conversations with Dale Earnhardt.
And if you missed it earlier today here at Daytona, Dale Earnhardt was the winner of the Busch Clash.
So Earnhardt is back, it looks like,
yes,
in the Goodwrench Chevrolet. He started dead last and in 10 laps won the race.
Yes, he was 13th on the original 10-lap field and went to the front. Jack Bowser's in the pits. Don't know if it's the schedule. It's not too far away from scheduled pit stops, but he is in for a change of right side tires. I said Jack Bowser. That's Bobby. Jack's his dad. I'll get over that sometime. If he races long enough and I live long enough, maybe I'll call him the right name.
Maybe when Dale Jarrett starts making pit stops, we'll say there's Ned in the pit.
Okay.
Pit stop comes on lap number 36. Took a little over 20 seconds for Bobby to get service on that car. He's rolling again.
I'll tell you what, with 35 laps, I would imagine we're going to be starting seeing some pit stops,
yes.
Ned.
With the restrictor plates, they can normally go somewhere between 40 and 50, but he might have decided to come in a little bit early. And I don't know how much effect these taller and bigger spoilers will have on the gas mileage that we've seen in the past.
You're right. They might use a little more fuel because of that extra drag of the rear spoiler.
All right, John Kernan is standing by with Mike Connor.
Well, Mike is the crew chief for Kirk Shelberdine, and Kirk's doing pretty well. He's second place, just past Loy Allen, but is that a little bit of strategy in trying to chase down that one car?
Well, he come on the radio a while ago and said to call and see if we could get in touch with Loy Allen and see if he'd let him in front because they wasn't catching the one car the way it was, and he thought maybe they could run better if he is in front, but it don't look like it's heavy that way either.
How much of his driving style is he like? Has he watched tapes of how Earnhardt, and he knows how Earnhardt's driving, and is he trying to use some of the same things, you know, kind of the classroom going to school on Earnhardt style?
Hey, he probably talks to him a lot and learns a lot. He's probably as good as down here as he is.
What about pit stops? We're at lap 37. Should be coming up in that window right now. What are you guys going to do?
Somewhere around 40 something. We're going to try to, you know, 41 or 2 laps and then go the rest of the way if we can.
That's Mike Connor, who is working as a crew chief for Kirk Shelberdine, his second-place car right now.
And, John, one reason that it didn't help much when Kirk got in front of Loy Allen, he broke the draft. He drove on away from him, and they were not drafting together like Kirk was doing when he was running behind Loy Allen, so they didn't get the advantage of a 2-car draft. He now is driven away from him.
Quite a separation now between second and third position. Well, we talked about the spoilers and how they have been, the size has increased, and the angle is different from as was last year. Here's Benny Parsons with more in this Track Fact. Track Facts are brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
Jeff McClure and I are going to show you the difference in last year's spoiler for the ARCA 200 and this year's spoiler for the ARCA 200. First, Jeff, throw last year's spoiler up on this Chevrolet Lumina. You can see the thing 4 inches high, around 57 inches across. That's all around 230 square inches. Last year, they ran them at 40 degrees. The angle was 40 degrees. Watch this year's baby. This thing is 6.5 inches high, 57 or so inches across. What's that, 370 square inches or so? And they got to run it this year at 50 degrees. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, this makes the car more stable. Bigger spoiler, the more angle, the car is more stable. Another thing, they want to keep these cars around 190 miles per hour so they don't fly through the air like kites.
And now you know the difference between the spoiler used last year and the one used this year. Jeff Purvis, the leader of this race, has just seen the cross flags, indicating that we are halfway through this race. 40 laps completed, 40 to go at Daytona. Purvis continues to lead the ARCA 200. Some of the cars have made pit stops, but most have not, and we anticipate pit stops now from Purvis and Shelberdine, the second-place car, before too long.
Well, he's gone past the halfway point, so he knows that he can go 100 miles on a tank of fuel, so any time now he can come in, have enough fuel to go the rest of the way.
Some guys were talking that if they had a 12-gallon gas can, Ned, that they might be able to make it all the way, that they feel like they can run 130 miles or so. And if they had about a 12-gallon gas can, they'd be able to go put one can in. But unfortunately, the rules dictate they can only use an 11-gallon gas can.
Jerry, what do you know about this?
Well,
Actually, Benny, what they talked about is most of these teams knew they could maybe go as many as 60 laps on just what they have in the car. But as you saw a minute ago, that big spoiler Benny Parsons showed you may have been the equalizer, so they're not going to take a chance. They are getting ready to call Jeff Purvis in the pit road. They figured, why gamble? We've gone halfway. We'll put some fuel in the car and go back out. But that's really the unknown here. The spoiler is different this year. The plate on the engine is exactly the same, 29, 30 seconds. It's a little bit bigger than the Winston Cup cars use.
Fourth place, Jeremy Mayfield is in the pits as we watch Jeff Purvis slow down, drop off the banking, and enter pit road. Here is Jeremy Mayfield, the Shoney's Inn machine, getting service at the far end of the pit area down toward turn number 1. Purvis has made his way onto the pit area, and here he comes. Jerry Punch is right there.
As Jeremy Mayfield pulls away in front of Jeff Purvis, he brings the Chevrolet, the Phoenix Construction Chevrolet, very deliberately down pit road, being careful to tap the brakes. And now Gary Ballou, along with some help from the Morgan McClure, Ernie Irvin, Winston Cup crew, will fuel the car. There is no tire change. Repeat, they will not change tires. The Goodyear radials not wearing at all here in the first 45 laps of this race. They want to get the car completely full of fuel. And now the signal, the car is full, and Purvis will pull away in 17.2 seconds.
I tell you what, Ned, they could not make it on 12 gallons of can because he put about 16, 17 gallons of fuel in that car.
He put a good portion of that second can in there.
He sure did.
Well, we understand that both coming onto pit road now, both Kirk Shelmerdine and Loy Allen Jr. So second and third positions coming in at the same time.
70 miles an hour speed limit.
Exactly, and the John Kernan is down in Shelmerdine's pit.
Just like Purvis, this is going to be a gas-only stop for Kirk Shelmerdine. He says the tires are feeling great. They say they can run all day on these Goodyear Eagle radials. First can of gas goes in. Second one now. Shelmerdine sitting patiently, waiting, and Jerry is down pit road with Loy Allen.
And they will change right side tires on the Hooters Ford of Loy Allen, the fellow who won the season finale in Atlanta. They figured they could change 2 right side tires in the time it would take to fuel the car. They have fueled the car, and they have trouble now with the right rear. They are trying to get the right rear lug nuts on. Shelmerdine also having a problem further up pit road. John Kernan.
Jerry, they're having problems in getting the second can of gas for the valve to push in and deliver the fuel into the gas tank. Finally, they get the overflow and to show that the tank is full. And Kirk finally pulls away, but losing a lot of time. And Loy Allen also has made his way off pit road down to Jerry.
Further complications for Loy Allen. They finally got the right rear tire on his. Shelmerdine just gets by Loy Allen at the finish of pit road, but Loy Allen's car stalled when it came off the jack. That cost him another 5 or 6 seconds.
The only good thing about all of that, fellas, is both of them had problems. Go back out together, they'll be able to hook up in a draft, but that was some very long pit stops.
Yeah, ironic that both should have trouble, different kinds of trouble on their pit stops. Frank Kimmel is the leader, I would imagine, at this point, since those ahead of him have pitted.
He probably hasn't pitted yet, so he's out there leading the race. And yes, he is. There is Frank Kimmel. He picked up a sponsor this morning, but I can't remember who it was. Indiana Steel is his longtime sponsor. They're on the hood of the car, but he had another name on the quarter panel. And
now, he might have made a pit stop during that second caution and took on some fuel, which would let him run a little longer here.
He's staying out there.
I'll tell you one thing, he certainly doesn't want to run out of gas.
Not with those big spoilers on, because someone said, I think I heard Mike Bean, crew chief for Bill Elliott, say the other day that if you shut it off at the start-finish line, you almost don't get it back. It won't coast back to the garage area because of that big spoiler just drags.
And that was a Winston Cup car, and this has even more rear spoiler than a Winston Cup car.
Not too far behind Kimmel, however, the white car that you see right there.
Yes.
Blasting into the picture is Jeff Purvis, so Kimmel's going to lose the lead here without making the pit stop. Jerry, why is Kimmel not electing to come in right now?
Bob, let me answer one question first. He did not pit during the first caution for that major crash in turn 3. He is being shown as a leader, but the crews have told him possibly that there is some rain in the area. He said, I said a couple of raindrops on my windshield as Jeff Purvis now goes by Frank Kimmel to take the lead. And now the crew says, we don't need to gamble now, even if the rain comes. We've got to have fuel in the next 3 or 4 laps.
So Purvis takes the lead back from Kimmel, and you are right. The skies are definitely darkening, especially in the northwest. And the weather usually comes from that direction here at Daytona, so we may be in for a shower here before long. We are past the halfway point. Hopefully we can get this entire event in before the rain comes.
Look at that curve. It's good. Man, he's flying. Maybe Ernie Irvin should have kept that car. Tell you what.
It's a good race car. And he's doing a good job of driving it. But you'll see that he'll pick up the draft of every car he can. See, he pull right in behind this blue car as he comes over, but he doesn't get too close until he goes. He doesn't want to take any chances. He just moves on by on the outside. That was the car number 10 of Glenn Brewer.
Meanwhile, the battle has resumed between Kirk Shelmerdine and Loy Allen Jr. It isn't for second place anymore. They're in 8th and 9th. However, they are hooked up once again.
And Kirk looked like it slowed down just a tick before that pit stop that he made, because Loy Allen had gained on him. And Loy Allen has changed tires. He has fresh tires on the right side, so that should be an advantage. It normally is an advantage. And is that Jeremy Mayfield right in front of them? No.
Nope, that's the 38 car of Andy Hillenberg, the old sprint car driver from Indiana.
Same guy who has fast track, right?
Yes. Okay. Not to be confused with the sprint car driver Andy Hillenberg, who lives in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought there was 2 Andy Hillenbergs around.
There are, yep.
Okay.
And both were sprint car drivers.
Both were sprint car drivers, yep. The 02 of Frank Kimmel finally makes a pit stop.